Going on right now, with the courtesy of on-air brands. So, you're like the eager beaver sitting up front, right? Cool. So, what's like big on your mind right now in real estate? What do you want to talk about?
Well, in my case, I'm sort of getting back to real estate. I've been doing real estate finance for like 30 years, but I was a professional actor for the last 7 years.
Right. I remember you told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and apparently I wasn't all that good at it. So I need to go back into real estate. My challenge is that I'm new to this. I'm relatively new to New Jersey. Most all my real estate background is down in Maryland. So all my contacts, my market knowledge,
Your peeps.
lawyers, it's all down there. So it's kind of like trying to come up here and kind of trying to figure out, where to start in the investment game.
Yeah.
Kind of since we last talked, we saw each other at a vet a few weeks ago. I think my question for you at that point is sort of like just trying to narrow down my sort of product focus. I didn't want to do the look for apartments in Indianapolis
Mm-hmm.
type thing. So I think I've gotten one step where I think now I'm going to be looking at sort of retail office opportunities.
Right.
I don't think
Retail office space.
retailish. I don't want to go pure hard retail, big shopping centers. I think retail still, is going to contract. But those kind of spaces where I think that kind of go either retail or office that have some value add opportunities. Maybe they're like they're not. I've got one in mind where the town I live in that I'm looking at going. It doesn't do well because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So my question is just like how. Here's the question.
Got it.
How do I go about assembling my team?
How do you go about assembling your team? Okay, that's a good question. And so the short answer is that it's a good question because there's a lot of people that are not good team members that are out there that present themselves as good team members. So there's lawyers that want to charge you, $750 an hour for not doing very much, or there's people that aren't aligned with your goals and stuff like that. So you don't want to just hire anybody. You want to hire really good team members. And so when you say team, you mean
Lawyers,
your lawyer, your real estate broker, your CPA, your mortgage broker, all those people, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And even within the lawyer world, it could be the same person, or it could be two separate. Could be your transactional attorney. It could also be like, if you're trying to do syndication, your
I don't believe in
securities.
general practice law.
But I just mean in terms of somebody who do securities law or
Correct.
transaction.
Right. But what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, I've had many lawyers tell me that they're general practice, meaning that they'll allow me to pay them to do anything.
No,
right?
no.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I like is lawyers that are focused on a few things, right? So the lawyer that's a transactional guy or girl, or an SEC person, or a whatever. And so I have several lawyers. So like I've got an eviction lawyer, and a transactional lawyer, and an SEC lawyer, and a lawyer that's I call him my pit bull that I throw at him.
Mhm.
I throw him at people that are messing with us.
Your litigation guy.
Yeah, he's my litigation guy. And he's also a good deal hunter too.
Mhm.
So the bottom line, and I met almost all those team members, lawyers, CPAs, through referrals of other real estate investors, right? And so I find investors that I like and trust, and just ask them like, hey man, who's your lawyer? And unless their lawyer's like completely booked, or is just out of the business, or just doesn't want any more business, they're not going to care about. You're not asking them for like, hey, who do you use for your investors, or who's your secret sauce person or whatever that they don't want to give to you. They don't care about their CPA. They'll give you that. The problem you're going to run into is for some folks that kind of have a scarcity mindset, giving you access to their real estate agent, or their because they're worried that that agent's gonna, he's an agent here, they would worry that they might not give you as a referral because they might think that you're gonna give him the good deal but not me. Completely scarcity mindset. I don't believe like that, so I would give people who my realtor is, in that, but somebody's at the front door, so, yeah, okay, I guess they'll work their way in. Oh well, I probably would not, wouldn't bother, but some people might not be willing to give that, and so if that's the case, then you look in the real estate circles, like the local RIAs and stuff like that, and see, and the realtors that are in those circles are likely ones that are either players in the real estate space that are investors too, or ones that are, that work with a lot of agents and are looking for more business, or work with a lot of investors and are looking for more business, so.
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with you.
See, there you go, right? So, yeah, active agent, right?
Yeah.
So, cool. So Justin, you got any questions from the web yet?
Not yet. If you got a break, I'd be happy to do another intro and tell people to ask their questions again. I'm here.
Okay,
Just
cool.
do it again, tell them where we are, tell them we're filling up.
I'll just do it from here.
All
Cool. So the room's starting to fill up, guys. This is Matt. We are here at the Hive, which is in Trenton, New Jersey, and this is a shared office space. And among other businesses, we have quite a few real estate investors that are here in this space. If you are in Mercer County or in Central Jersey, the Hive membership starts at $150 a month, which gives you full access to the building to come here and hang out. And not just to sit and talk real estate with me, you can work your day-to-day operation here in this building. On Air Brands is responsible for this live podcast today, so give a quick shout out to On Air Brands at onairbrands.com. So.
Old Fashioned Real Estate wants to know, or what they're saying, I know plenty of people who don't want to share connections. It never made sense to me.
Cool. Old Fashioned Real Estate. Ask him if it's okay if if I give a brief background of Old Fashioned Real Estate. Ask it. Yeah, I'm asking. Can I give a brief? I forget. Can I give a brief background? Just type yes, and Justin will read it out if it's okay, because you have a phenomenal brand. So, but I want to get your permission first. So his question was about sharing. People never got sharing their contacts, right? Sharing their real estate. You know what it is? Because they have they have scarcity mentality. That's all it is.
He says yes.
Okay, cool. So Old Fashioned Real Estate is. They have a YouTube channel, and you guys should all check that out. Go to YouTube. My guess is go to YouTube and search for Old Fashioned Real Estate. And they're down in Tennessee, and they sit and drink Old Fashions, right? Which is a bourbon whiskey drink, okay? And you sit and drink Old Fashions and talk about real estate, you know. And I had a great call with them, and they're a rising star in YouTube and a rising star in the real estate world. To sit and talk, and it's such a great, cool brand name. And Justin, I thought of you when I was on the call with him, because it's just a really cool name, and Justin's got his headphones on, so he can't hear me now, so I can talk about him. Right, Justin?
I'm listening to you on like a 10-second delay.
Oh, are you? Oh, okay. I'm over there talking about you.
Cool.
But anyway, so
like
what was his question again?
Matt, is the
he was saying that people don't want to share
This is
connections.
it, and we're live on my YouTube channel. There's a bunch of people up front waiting.
People don't want to share connections with each other.
Yeah, I don't get
And
that
he said,
either.
thanks so much for the shout out.
You got it, man. I don't get that either, because I think that it all comes around, and one hand scratch, you know, like sometimes the back gets scratched or something like that. If you help people, they look to help you as well. Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi.
How
We're
are
just
you,
doing it,
Matt?
Matt. We're just doing like pick my brain, talk real estate shop, and we're
Awesome.
live on YouTube. You guys aren't on YouTube. It's on me, so it's okay. You're not like broadcast to the world right now. So
This is great.
So we're just shouting out real estate questions. I'm gonna pick on you. Cool. So what's a burning hot real estate question y'all got right now?
You have all that.
I have a lot of questions.
It's okay. Bring it on.
For
I'm
me,
not,
it's-
I will annoyingly repeat your question into the microphone so that it goes on air. So I don't have a very good memory, so you have to keep it concise so I can remember it.
Okay. For me, it's we're looking in the Trenton.
Jose! I hope he comes back here. Sorry, this
For
guy's
me, we're
hysterical.
looking in the Trenton market, and I'm just wondering, how do I know block by block, because things change?
How do you know block by block?
Whether or not, this is a good thing to do, a good property to.
It's tough because in areas like Trenton, or in areas that are dense urban cores,
Yeah.
the crime maps tend to flow easily from one neighborhood to another and everything like that. So it's hard to use crime maps specifically to go block by block in urban neighborhoods like this, right? We use crime maps for general cities, you know, if we're buying an apartment complex in a slightly less dense area, like the burbs or whatever, I can go on crime maps and determine that. But what's your name?
Nadia.
Nadia, thank you. I would just simply drive it, you know?
Okay.
I mean, there are certain signs that bad neighborhoods tend to leave, right? Those are board ups. Those are lots of people hanging,
Yeah.
you know? But, you know, it's noon on a Tuesday, people ought to be at work,
Yeah.
and they're not.
Yeah.
And, you know, like,
Yeah.
and they're on the stoop or down the corner, you know, or like they're at the corner liquor store with a can in their hand, right? Okay, that's not a good block, right? You know, and everything like that. But this is the wrong time of year for this. But if I drive around a neighborhood and they got their Christmas decorations out,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
That's a good block. And you can drive around blocks of Trenton where people will have, like, they will decorate their house for Christmas. And that's not the only indication, but I can tell you that means they care about where they live. And they're trying to create a sense of community and a sense of neighborhood, right? So I would go off of that. I would, you could call local police and ask them, like, hey, is, you know, this block, 123 Main Street, is that a good block? And they might tell you straight, or they might be like, you know, they might, you know, give you, I find a lot of police officers to be somewhat jaded in neighborhoods like this. They'll just tell you, it's all, you know, it's all going to you know where in a handbasket, you know, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my answer to your question. What else you got? You're a good question asker. What else you
I'm a
got?
good question asker?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you two.
All right, another question I
Oh,
had is,
sweet.
how important is
back.
it? How
My-
important
my
is it
kid- my
in
kid is
an
here.
area like Trenton for you to be close to a subway, or is that important?
Yeah, we can all have it. But
How
how,
important is it to be close to a subway?
in a
Is
town
it
like
important?
this?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how many people actually use it, right? So if you're in Hamilton, New Jersey, like it's slightly suburby, right? Yeah, that's fine. What do I owe you?
4571.
Okay. Can you keep that to yourself to keep it?
Oh, you were recording something?
Yeah. No, I said, what do I owe you? Quanto le devo? Yeah, that's what do I owe you in Italian. All right, brother, good seeing you. Cool. I bought 2 pizzas, so y'all on YouTube can't have pizza and you can't smell it, but it's Jersey pizza and it's good pizza. You guys are Papa John's, we have good stuff here.
Three good
So-
things about New Jersey.
What's that?
3 good things about New Jersey.
It's close to good stuff.
Pizza, pork roll, full service gas. That's
Full
it.
service gas.
Full
For
service
cheap,
gas.
for cheaper.
Full service
I live
gas
in
is
Pennsylvania, and yeah, they pump our gas for us in New
Bagels,
Jersey,
too.
but not you guys.
Bagels
What-
good. Bagels
Bagels
good,
are
yeah.
better, that's true.
Bagels good.
Yeah.
So, diners are good too.
Diners
See,
are
also fine.
see, we can make the Jersey list.
Yeah.
It's close to the beach, it's close to New York.
Yeah.
You
Don't bring up
know,
property taxes
right.
and corruption.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, back to your question, which I told you I forget things easy. I've already
How
forgotten.
important is it to be near a subway
Okay,
in an urban
in
area?
an area where a lot of people, this sounds like such a stupid, like this sounds like such an obvious answer, but it is a good answer, I think. In an area where a lot of people use the subway, it's important. In an area where where they don't, it's not, right? So in an area like Manhattan, where my friend Brian here came down to visit us from, we're Fibro, Brooklyn, right? Being close to the subway is a really good thing where you live, correct? Being close to the subway here is not a good thing. 2 reasons. There's only 1 train station in Trenton, right? So being close to that train station doesn't matter as much because not everybody lives around the train station and uses it on a day-to-day basis to commute, right? It is not a day-to-day commuting station. It's more of a, you know, let's go up to New York for a single purpose. Some people use it to commute, but those around here really don't, right? So it's a big value or it's not. It's one of those two. It's actually, in some ways, it's a detriment in some areas, you know? So, anyway, that's my answer to your question.
That's really
I know
good.
it's like, it's totally weird, I know, but if you look in cities, like in Philadelphia,
Mhm.
right? In Philadelphia, not many people use certain subway lines, okay? People use certain lines in Philadelphia, like the L in Philadelphia. It's above ground, goes right into center city. It's access to a lot of jobs, okay? A lot of people use that train line. Access to that train line is a good thing. The South Broad Street line in Philadelphia does not get as much traffic as, for one reason or another, it's just a little dingy, that needs a facelift, and people won't feel safe on it and stuff like that, so not a lot of people utilize that train line. I know, because I've been on both of them, you know, like, but if you look at, Washington DC, a lot of people use that train system, so access to that train system makes sense, okay? It's a way longer answer than what you thought.
No, that's actually really good, because we're coming from Brooklyn, Manhattan, so, yeah.
Okay, hey, your neighbor, right,
Manhattan, what part?
Oh, Harlem,
Nice.
138.
see,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
Brooklyn, right,
Second Street.
there you
Oh,
go.
okay.
So you guys can commute home together, right? You carpool, take a Uber pool, right?
Oh, yeah,
Cool.
pretty awesome. Split the ride.
Alright, I haven't gotten a question from you, so Brian,
I got a question.
he's got a good question.
I have a good question.
Brian asked really good questions, what do you
I
got?
want to understand, what are some of the systems that you use to find properties?
The systems that we use to find
Systems,
properties.
strategies.
Okay, and I'm not saying this is the right way to do it, we network to find properties, okay? So I go to a lot of events like this and meet a lot of realtors and get to know who the players and markets are. So right now we're doing a lot of work in Kentucky. And so I'm trying really hard to get to know every broker in Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Yeah, right? That's
Good idea.
me though, okay? There are people that do deals elsewhere, right? That maybe that's not how they play. Like a lot of people watching might actually find deals by doing mailers. I've never done a mailing campaign, but I know people that swear by it. I mean, you know, I buy houses, right? I don't solicit owners directly, just because it's only been so much time in the day. And so I end up paying a wholesaler a fee for a deal that I probably could have ran down myself, you know? So I network, and I do a really good job putting my brand out there. So I've gotten people that want to sell that call us direct, you know? And I'm not saying like, oh, I just sit back and the deals come to me. It's not like that. But every here and again, people that want to sell and want to have a reasonable price in mind, that don't want the hassle, you know, they'll find us online in that. And that's only because I, you know, try really hard to put a brand out there, right? In that. So I think that you can do it that way, like networking and social media, or you can do that, yes, and you can also solicit owners. And we've never done the solicitation of owners things. That said, this is how you do the solicitation of owners, okay? There are websites like ListSource that you can buy lists of properties. Let's say you want to buy properties in Trenton. I met you in Trenton today, right?
Sure.
So you want to buy properties in Trenton. So you can go on ListSource and say, okay, I want a list of every property in Trenton that has an out-of-state owner that's a multifamily, okay? I'd like to see that list too, right? So ListSource, here you go, 50 cents a lead. Here you go. Here's your list. You know, they price it out based on how sparse the data is. And a lot of times their price is, you know, just based on how hard it is to get that data and how micro you want the data. You know, so that you do that, and then you can send them letters, cold call them, and that, yeah, just kick the door in.
Got it.
Yeah, just go shake them down.
Okay.
Yeah,
Not a bad idea.
yeah. So there you go.
I got another question.
Go ahead.
Okay, how do you keep your contractors under control?
Go ahead. Let me know. I don't know.
Okay.
You have people that are nicer than me, and people that are jerks that are willing to kick a contractor's teeth in. I joke that there are there are human beings, and then there are contractors, you know? And I don't get it. I don't get how they're able to operate in the world the way that they do. And I know there's some good ones out there, and I've had many good ones that work for me, but I've had a lot of bad ones that work for me. And I need to look myself in the mirror too, in the way that I've operated with contractors and allowed them to steal from me, or given them more money than they were due, and that. But I've had, you know, everything from a contractor. I mean, just name it, I've had happen. I mean, stolen from me, and, you know, claim injuries on job sites, and had them bring their dogs and their kids to job sites and stuff like that. You know, I mean, it's just insane things. Good.
No,
Yeah.
that's,
So,
so, any systems in particular, like?
The way, yeah, I mean,
well-
you control a contractor. Here's another, this is just but it's a joke that I like to tell, but it's true. You know the way you make a contractor stop working? No,
No, you pay 'em.
You pay them, right. You make them stop working by paying them.
Yeah.
And the way you make them keep working is
You don't pay 'em.
don't pay them, right? So if you dangle a check out there, they will hustle to get that check, because odds are they're going to use that check to go finish a job over here, you know, because most contractors I know are robbing Peter to pay Paul, you know, because, and the reason for that, again, all joking aside, because maybe I got a few contractors watching, contractors are great at contracting, they're not great business people. They're great at understanding the contracting rules and great at physically implementing things. And the problem with the world is that most contractors stay good at what they're good at, and they try and figure out the business side of what they do. But because they're not good at business, and this is a business idea, here's a freebie, okay? Here's a business idea that I don't have time to lend them with. Here it is, okay? Go and find a bunch of scrappy contractors, like 2 guys in a truck, okay? And have a service that is a back-end admin and like that runs their back office for them for a small fee, that sends their bills out for them, that does their account maintenance and does their accounts payable and accounts receivable and does all that. Because the problem is you got a guy who knows how to paint and hang sheetrock and is great at that, and you're asking him to run a business, and they don't know how to do that. That's not what they do. And what happens is, because they're not great at that, they end up behind. They end up robbing Peter to pay Paul. They end up, because they just can't keep up with it. I feel for them, man, you know? And they're just trying, and you know, most of them are just trying to make ends meet. I get it, they're trying to feed a family, they're trying to keep things going, right? But the problem is that they just don't have the business wherewithal to keep it going. So the idea is to run their business back office for a small fee, you know?
Got a few shout outs for you. Jack Singh says thanks for the information. Jaron Townsend is checking in from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Jaron, checking in from Fayetteville, North Carolina. And you gotta see, it's not Fayetteville, it's Fayetteville. Fayetteville.
Right.
Right?
I
Okay.
got that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got Post Office Joe is all over our audio levels, making sure you're sounding nice and clear for us. And Lewis Q checking in from New York.
Oh, it's Lewis Q?
Yeah.
That's our boy. Okay. Lewis, what's up, man? Cool. All right. Lots of check-ins. Very good.
Tell them to ask questions.
Ask questions, guys. If you guys are watching, make sure you ask some questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'll be on the air for another half an hour, give or take, or so. And we'll just keep picking Matt's brain and then hanging out. But bottom line, the way you control contractors really well, aside from like, you know, putting your cape on and saving the day and helping them run their business better and being their back-end office, is to control them with a check. You know, and make sure that you don't give them as much. And it sucks because they're not good business people. They're going to scramble to make ends meet, so they're going to hustle on your job to get your job done so that you can pay them. Come on in. Welcome.
All right. I guess it's my turn. I met
I've been
you
waiting
like,
for it. I know you got a good question. Go ahead.
Well,
Come on in. We're on the air on YouTube, and we're doing Q&A right here.
I feel like I'm a little behind the 8 ball because I met you an hour ago. And these people showed up to listen to you.
That's okay.
Can you speak to, you're saying we have systems, who is we? Like, who do you represent?
Sure.
Group of
Who the
people?
frick is this guy, huh?
Right. And what kind of deals are you doing?
You have a lot of faith, man. You know that? I met you an hour and a half ago. I was for YouTube. I was turning in a certificate of occupancy for a property we have here in Trenton, and I met, what's your name?
Seth.
I met Seth. Just like he's waiting in line to talk to the electrical inspector, you know, and we just started shooting the breeze, and he comments on my bigger pocket sweatshirt, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, you work with him for 5 years, you get a sweatshirt, you know.
And you knew the electrical inspector's name.
And I knew the right guy to
yes,
go to.
exactly.
Right. Yeah, well, there's another one you don't want to go to. I told you want to go to that guy, not that guy. Right?
Which, in Trenton, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah,
but-
he's good. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you know, Seth came out just out of faith and all that. So I appreciate you. So, I've been investing for 15 years. I got started in 2004, give or take, 2003. In a house that I lived in was my first rental property, and I rented out 2 rooms to 2 buddies of mine. You know, on Bigger Pockets, they give cool names to stuff like that, so they call that a house hack on Bigger Pockets. I recommend to anybody that that's what they do if they're not married. I mean, to you, I mean, probably doesn't work in Brooklyn per se. Yeah, it'd be hard to do because your buy price.
Super expensive.
Your buy price would be crazy up here to buy the property.
$1 billion.
But if you do end up moving to North Carolina, like you're talking about doing, the way to do it, buy a small multifamily, rent out a couple of bedrooms, you can live there for nothing. So you know, extend out your seed capital a bit longer, you know what I'm saying? And you can buy for a little money down. So I did that and then quit my job in 2005 and started investing full time. Worked out well until the market crashed. then we got heavy into rentals. And, pinballed around a little bit and then picked up a lot of steam when we started buying small multifamily and bringing in investors to invest with us. So we started raising private money to get into deals, and we've been doing that for probably the last 5 years now. We're in 4 different markets: New Jersey, North Carolina, Kentucky, and central Pennsylvania. And we own just small multifamily, so small to mid-size. Our biggest asset is 198 units. Our smallest property you would call a multifamily is 49 units. And we have a 10 unit here in Jersey as well, so 10 units for multifamily.
Okay.
And most of it's funded with other people, with like OPM, other people's money. I wrote a book for Bigger Pockets called Raising Private Capital. So that's like the quick, who's this guy?
Got it.
Cool. Yeah.
Some
Give
questions
me a
online.
Go ahead.
We've got old-fashioned real estate asking, I feel like we're late in the market cycle. How are you preparing for a future downturn?
The crash. It's gonna crash any minute now, right? And I'm gonna sit and wait until it crashes, and then I'll buy real estate, says the person with the excuse on getting in, right? I don't think it's going to do what people think that the market's going to do what it did in 2007, and that was such an anomaly. I've been around long enough that I don't think it'll ever do what it did in 2007 again. I think that's a once in a lifetime occurrence, and I don't think it's going to just get cut in half and then the knees get cut out, and then okay, that's when I'll go start buying property. Here's my very humble prediction. I think the stock market's going to take a major correction. I think that will cause companies to start laying people off. And I think that that will affect most of the higher income, higher paid, parts of the world. And I think that it's going to affect A and B class real estate, because I think that those are the people that are going to lose in those scenarios. The people that are in this, it'll trickle down into the service industry as well, which is where C and D class real estate gets affected, and manufacturing too. But I don't think that it's going to sock that market in the gut. I think it'll necessarily correct the stuff like in Brooklyn that's selling for $1,500 a square foot, right? Or apartments that are leasing for $10,000 a month, right? Because that's ridiculous. It's just, anytime you look at something, you're like, this is not right. Okay, you know what, eventually the market will realize that too.
Exactly.
And they'll say, yeah, you know what, you're right, that's crazy. That I should be paying $10,000 a month for a 2-bedroom on the Lower West Side, right? So I think that those things that just don't make any sense anymore are going to correct. Are like mid-sized multifamily, is that going to correct? Maybe. I just think that it's going to come down a little bit. Right now, like people are trying to sell stuff in super hot markets like Orlando and Tampa, and where my friend's watching out in Chattanooga. Maybe not so much in your markets, but just down the road in Nashville, the people are selling stuff at 4.5%, 5% capitalization rates. So that'll adjust a little bit, but it's not, the apartment buildings that you want to buy in Nashville are not going to go to half price. It's not, unless interest rates like double, which nobody thinks that's going to happen. That's what would have to happen to drive. You guys don't realize multifamily property is driven by capitalization rate, which is really affected by interest rate. Okay, so if interest rates go way up, then cap rates are going to go way up. And the Fed was talking about increasing rates just how recently, but now we don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But there's people way smarter than me that have other opinions on this, and my crystal ball is broken. So I'm going to keep on buying deals that make sense, and hope that that's the right choice. So, and buy deals that are based on like C-collar, C-class workforce housing. That's my market that I'm going to stick to, because I think that if there is a market correction, I think it will affect the workforce housing market the least. It'll affect everything, but I think it's going to affect that market the least. So, my humble opinion. What you got?
Nee wants to know if investing in rooming houses is a good thing or a bad thing.
If you can manage it yourself, I mean, yeah, I want my knee-jerk reaction, get it, was to be like, absolutely not, you should not do that, because there's a certain clientele you got to learn how to deal with if you're investing in rooming houses. I mean, the cash flows can be really good in a rooming house, but I mean, you're dealing with folks that are just getting back stable again, that may have addiction issues, that may have a lot of stuff going on, right. And so if you're not able to manage that, like right next to it, if it's right in your backyard, then maybe. But I don't think that you should build a business around rooming houses. So Hi, Eric.
How do you feel about the home
Hi.
sharing Airbnb market?
Home sharing Airbnb. I know nothing about Airbnb.
How do you feel about that?
I'll just make some shit up. Let's just make something up about the Airbnb market. Act like you know. Act like you know, right?
Do you,
Yeah.
do you see success? Do you know people that are having success with there? What's your gauge?
So
in
I
that
think
market?
Airbnb. This is what I like for my friends that are Airbnbers. I think Airbnb and then just like let's call it short-term rentals because I don't want to just let's say call them that a Xerox machine. I think that the short-term rental market is going to adjust and it's going to get pushed out of certain cities and it's going to flourish in other places. And that. So I think that just the way that we use this brings me back to a conversation Brian and I had a lot. Remember the restaurants thing conversation, right? The conversation about restaurants using their restaurant space as office space when they're not running as a restaurant.
Yes.
Remember that? Okay. So Airbnb was the first
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
of us reusing the way we use real estate. But bring it all the way back to you're talking about co-sharing space, like me living in a property. I think that is going to be dicey, number one, because people might not want to stay. I just think it takes it's such a niche inside of a niche inside of a niche for people wanting to stay where the owner is also, it's like a bed and breakfast kind of thing, a little funky. So I think that the jury's still out on short-term rentals in general, but I think that it's going to shift, not majorly, and it's never going to go away because once it's like the cat's out of the bag, right? So I think that towns are going to try and control it, and it might in some areas, but I think it's going to continue to flourish. What do you got?
So second to that question, as a real estate investor owning multiple units, have you been approached by people that come with that strategy and say, hey, I've seen that's been vacant, I can take care of it for you?
Yeah.
Or if they haven't, what would your
They want to
reaction
do a
be?
straddle. They want to lease my property from me at a flat rate, and then mark it up and Airbnb it. And I've been like, yeah, you can do that. Go ahead. It's just it's got to be the right market. And we've flirted with a few people that have been interested in doing that, and I'm open to that honestly because I think it's a flaw to look at it and say, well, I guess I could do that and I could make those margins. Yes, you're right, but I have to go build that infrastructure they had to build to do that. Like I met a guy, he has 9 Airbnbs, makes a living off of them, makes $1,000 a month off of each one of them. So he makes $9,000 a month. That's his living. Okay? He doesn't own any of the properties. They're all straddles. He leases the property and then sublets it.
As the owner, are you concerned about like utility bills or something?
As the owner,
Say,
no.
say there's like a common water bill.
Huh?
Like in a multifamily, say there's a common water bill.
Yeah.
And they're renting out rooms at
If
water
they're
bills.
Airbnb in my multifamily?
Yeah,
So
something
if I
like
find
that.
out they're doing it and they didn't disclose it in their lease, then I come after them, right? Then they're out. I mean, they have to disclose that they're going to sublet. That's the first, like, if you're thinking about doing the Airbnb, or I keep calling it Airbnb, the short-term housing, the, straddle, right? Then you have to disclose it. Because if your landlord finds out you're just subletting, that's what you're doing. And your lease likely says you're not allowed to sublet, So you have to get exclusion from the sublet clause and tell them, hey, listen, I'm doing this. If your landlord is smart, they're going to see that and say, okay, I want you to contribute to the water bill. If it were me, and it was like a 3-family, I'd say, yeah, you want to do that? Go ahead, but you're going to pay the entire water bill for the property. Like you're going to, I got to win too. So you're going to pay my entire utility bill. And for these properties, like these 1-bedrooms that have just a single person living in them, yeah, you got to pay their water bill too. But for the people that are going to have constant people in and out, you got to pay that as well. So that's what I would do. But we've had people approach us on larger apartment buildings, and I've been open to it, but it hasn't landed yet. So, yeah. Questions?
Louis Q says.
What's up, Louis?
The yield curve inverted.
Oh
Many
boy.
people are saying this is a leading indicator of a recession. What do you think?
I defer to people that are smarter than me on that. I listen, like Jay Scott, who's a writer for Bigger Pockets, and also a friend of mine has some strong opinions on that, and he's written a post that means that we're looking at a recession. I think certain tea leaves are starting to lean that way. So, but I don't know. I listen to people like him. I just read his Facebook posts, and that tells me what's going to happen. So.
Old Fashioned Real Estate says they heard that Freddie rates are down 40 basis points.
Yeah.
And he thinks cap rates will stabilize.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with him. But I think that what's going to happen is that in certain markets, if there is a recession, it will affect jobs, and that will affect our occupancy, right? But I don't think that apartment building prices are going to have a major shift aside from just owners getting a little more realistic as occupancies start to go down a little bit. So.
What factors are you looking at, like you're investing in 4 different markets? What factors are you looking at when you identify a property that you might be interested in? And where do you find that information? Like you say, I want to buy a 150 unit in Kentucky, and how do you find out about the neighborhood, if it's the right, workforce that you're looking for, or, what metrics are you looking at?
We research the median income. So I look at the median income. There's a few websites you can use. I mean, first start with citydata.com. Citydata gives the median income for most MSAs, right? Then we go off a website called goodblocksbadblocks.com, and they give you the median income by block. Okay, so I look at affordability. I look at crime, and I look at jobs. If I'm looking at a new apartment complex, okay, in a new area, okay. So crime stats, we use Trulia. I pretend like I'm going to buy a house in a neighborhood, and Trulia tells me, "Oh, you want to see the crime stats?" And I say, "Yes, I do."
They have a color scale.
Yeah, and you use that, because they have better data than sites you got to pay for. And there's like paid sites that does not have as good data as Trulia does. So that's a free one. That's a free source. You just have to pretend you're going to buy a house, and then they open up the door to you. So that, and then Good Blocks, Bad Blocks. There's some other free sites that my underwriter uses that I don't remember off the top of my head. But for us, we look at what the median income is, and I say, could someone earning that median income afford to live in the apartment complex I'm going to buy once I'm done with it? Once I raise rents to where I want them to be, can somebody earning the 40 grand a year that the median income is, could they afford to live? So the quote, air quote, average person, right? And I mean like numerical average, not background average. I mean like numerical average person afford to live in that complex. That's number 2. And number 3, I look at diversity of jobs. So who's the big employer in an area? Is it 5 different factories that all make the same thing? Or is it 5 factories that all make different stuff? Or is it not factories, but this college, this factory, this warehouse, just completely different industries? Because if a recession hits, it's likely not going to hit everything across the board. It's going to hit certain industries harder. You with me? Cool. Sir?
So I was gonna ask, in terms of rents, when you're not trying to kill your renters, you're trying to hit that middle bar to where like anyone.
No, I don't want to kill them. I want them to pay I need them to pay their rent still.
Exactly. So pay their rent, but then you raise it year over year. You push it year by year.
I'm not a fan of raising rents for the sake of raising rents. So we do like a 2 to 3% rent increase just to keep up with them, but just for inflation. Right? And we're doing a model in Kentucky right now where if your lease is coming up, and those rents in our property in Kentucky are way below market. So I'm trying to get.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So you're trying to.
So in exchange for, like, which one would you like? I give them a menu. Take your pick. Which one do you want? Do you want new hardwood floors? Do you want new kitchen appliances? Do you want a newly updated bathroom and new light fixtures? Choose. I forget. Justin's helped me with that. I might have forgotten one of the menu items, but
Partial kitchen, full kitchen, flooring, or general remodel with
kitchens,
heating and a ceiling fan.
Yeah, appliances.
And you apply that to their rent.
Yeah. So for 75, so if they're like, yeah, you know what? I'll take new floors. Okay, great. $75 more, and I'll change out your floors. It costs me $2,000 to change the floors, and they'll pay $75. So it's a great ROI for us, and I'm giving them something for that extra $75. So it's a win-win, right? They win, they get nice new floors, they get nice appliances, they get whatever it is I'm giving them, and they're willing to pay $75 a month. You for real for new appliances? Sure, with the ice maker thing on the front of the door, yeah, and the microwave thing above the stove, you'll do all that? I will. For you, no problem, yeah. So, because it's a win-win, right? And I pay for that, and it gets even better because on a big apartment building, the bank pays for that. The bank finances that, right, as part of our construction loan, okay? And so I borrow the $2,000 it takes to do that work. That's on debt. My debt service on the $2,000 is like, you know, $20 a month, and I'm getting
Sure,
75. And then I refinance the property later and recapitalize all those $75 and blow out the bank loan to be and stabilize the debt. It's the Burr strategy on steroids.
And yeah,
That's how you play the game. It's little incremental shifts you can make in rent times the number of units you have, right? That you can make major shifts in the value of your apartment building by just not by raising rents $300, but just raising them, you know, and keeping your existing tenant base in. We made the mistake of redoing an apartment complex, and we ended up booting most of the tenant base. You know, like getting most of the tenant base out of there, and I regret it, man. I should have kept them in there and offered them small rent increases. You know, so.
Lewis wants to know what kind of flooring you're talking about for B or C class tenants. What are you putting in there?
What type of flooring? Well, you either use laminate sheet good or LVP flooring. What's up, Matt? What's up, Kristen? How are you?
And how often do you, when you do raise the rent, how often do you? Because I know some people have done like
Once a year.
or they
But I
like
don't do
open every 2
$75 a
years.
year. I try and do like $75, and then you guys are on YouTube. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. I try and raise the rent once a year through my property manager, but that could be just a few percentage points. I mean, unless your property is a complete dog, $75 is probably going to get you fairly close to market, you know, without losing the tenant altogether. You know, and if the tenant moves out completely, then we'll do a bigger reno. Like we'll do like a deeper renovation on the property and try and get on the unit and try and get $150 in rent if I can. Depends on the market. But, so we're doing pick Matt's brain, and YouTube is slinging out more questions than these guys are. You know, so yeah, right. What do we got? You got anything good?
Wondering, Old Fashioned Real Estate wants to know where you got the menu idea. If you got it from Mr. Landlord, he just saw a presentation on the exact same idea.
I made it up.
There you go.
I know. Mr. Landlord's a good guy though, but I made that up because I'm thinking like, I don't want to lose these tenants, but I need to get $75. What do I do? You know? Okay, I'll give them a menu. You know, pick which one of these things you want, and I'll do it, and I'll charge you $75. It's working. You know? Yeah.
How do you deal with large-scale CapEx stuff you have to do if you have tenants in there?
You got to give them notice. You got to be respectful. You got to have the property manager involved. Like up in Kentucky, we're replacing all the windows on an apartment building, right? And the one that we're about to buy, we'll probably replace all the windows on too. So that's 487 windows, right? Every unit in the complex needs new windows. They're all like those nasty wood trim ones with the peeling paint and stuff like that, you know. So we want to go vinyl replacement in all of them because it's just better energy efficiency and all that. So you got to do it, something like that, you got to do it when it's courteous. You might not want to do it in February, you know, and you've got to do it around the tenant's needs and just try and have the PM cooperate with the tenants and everything like that. So I just think you try and minimize disruptions as best you can. There's no easy way to do it, but, you know, so. Questions, what do you guys got? Totally blindside you. Right? No? Right. No? What do you got, Justin? Nothing?
Tell these guys to ask more questions.
What, more questions? I know like there's probably all these people watching. They're just sitting here watching me talk. So ask questions. What do you got, Zoltar? Zoltan?
No, I'll go by Zoltar if you want. But Zoltan.
Yeah.
But if you say it's Zoltan, but if you say Zoltan, you got to do the symbol, the Z symbol,
I
like
do the Z.
the dude where's my car thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Zoltan. There you go.
Zoltan. Right.
All right. Let's say you're going to a new market. You don't really know the market. But
Yes.
It's another team member question, but how important, and you're planning on raising money for it, how important is it to line up a property manager, identify a property manager before you actually start identifying
Imperative.
the properties?
It's absolutely, you have to do that because if you're gonna buy in a market, I mean like, here's the deal. If you're gonna buy a property somewhere, anywhere, and you write like the best business plan in the whole world, and it's gonna make you $1 million if the business plan gets implemented, without the right property manager to implement that business plan, unless you're gonna do it yourself, you know, all that is a piece of paper, right? So I think that you need to find a PM that knows how to run the kind of property you're buying, that is equipped to help you and has the resources and isn't a startup or anything like that. And it's imperative before you even look at a property to find the PM that's going to run it once you do find something. And the PM can probably help you find a property, right? Because they know owners that are tired. They know, I mean, if they really know their market,
Yeah.
they know that like, that guy needs a better management because he's trying to manage it himself and he's doing a crappy job doing it and he just needs somebody to walk in there with an offer.
Probably
right?
also the due
Like,
diligence.
PMs
stuff,
are
too.
great leads for mid-sized multifamily because the ones that really have the ear to the ground know the ones that are poorly managed. Because they're eating somebody's lunch and they know who it is. Like if they're like a 95% occupancy at all their complexes, they know who's at 70 and who's getting their butt kicked in the market. So the PM they're the best lead for new properties. So.
Other than other people's money, have you worked with like grants and so? Because how I know you say you started smaller. Or you just
This
started
small.
out. Yeah, this.
Yeah,
so
right.
then how did you?
I was shorter and everything.
You're
right?
shorter.
Yeah.
So how did you
Probably
go
way less,
beyond
yeah.
other people's money in the sense of did you do grants or did you do anything beyond other people's money to kind of raise funds for your business?
So there are programs out there for doing stuff in emerging markets, okay? We have looked at it, we flirted with it, there's low-income housing tax credits. The problem with all of that money is it all comes with strings on it, right? Like we've looked at money, we've looked at using money for doing stuff here in Trenton, and it all like, there's some buckets of money out there where you gotta use union labor for doing whatever it is you're gonna do with it, right? And I'm not opposed to unions, but it's not millions of dollars of money. This is like $20,000, $30,000 to give you to renovate a storefront or something like that. It'd be very hard to do that with union labor, you know. And forgive me, it's not union, it's called prevailing wage, which means that the folks doing the work have to earn what's considered to be a fair wage, okay? Which is, you know, it's a nice wage, but it's just hard to do smaller construction projects at those wages, you know. You can do big construction projects at those wages, but it's hard to do them on small. Or you've got to, that money might have strings attached to it, like you've got to rent to folks with special needs, or you've got to keep your rent capped at a certain amount and have folks that are earning below a certain median income level, you know. And those programs are needed, you know. I mean, there needs to be, I believe there needs to be a safety net to take care of people like that. But as a developer that's implementing those things, normally those programs don't make sense unless you're a big project, you know. And this is unfortunate, but I think there should be programs that help people doing like onesie-twosie stuff, but unless you're looking to do like 100 units or more in a super emerging market that's super challenged and has a lot of low-income needs, then if you're willing to do that, I mean, that's a grind, but that money's there. It's just, and unfortunately, there's not little buckets of money, there's big buckets of money. You know, it's hard to get $5 grand, but it's really easy to get $5 million. Does that make sense? Okay. But
Are you
YouTube
familiar
question.
with opportunity zones, and if so, can you explain a little bit about what they are?
Nobody's familiar with opportunity zones because it's so new and they haven't put out enough data on it, but everybody thinks that they want to be in opportunity zones and that it's a good way to get tax write-offs and everything like that. A lot of people, we have a development here in Trenton that's in an opportunity zone. I mean, it's not free money, it just means that there's incentives for people to invest in opportunity zones. I don't think it's the end-all be-all next thing. I just think that it's a buzzword right now. And if you're doing and the people that I've talked to that are doing real work in opportunity zones are doing stuff that's like 5 acres, like big stuff. You know, it's hard to do small stuff, I think, in opportunity zones, from what I know. And I don't know everything there is to know about it because all the information on it isn't out yet. So, my 2 cents.
How long were you in small multifamilies before you decided to get into larger syndications and big stuff?
Probably too long, you know. I probably could have grown, I probably could have gotten into it a lot quicker. What I tell people is that if you have a goal to double your portfolio every time you do a deal, that's a really good growth rate. And you could, you know, you could stop whenever you want to stop, you know. And it's really small. This is a perfect idea for you guys, you know, from what I know about what you guys are doing. But if it sounds small in the beginning, but it grows quick, right? So it's like, we do 1 deal, we're gonna do a deal. And then I gotta do 2, I'm gonna do 2. Well, okay, now you gotta get your portfolio up to 4. That's interesting. Well, now you gotta go to 8. Don't do a deal unless it takes you to 8 or more. And then you go to 16. Ooh, you know, now you got a conversation. Then you go to 32. Whoa, you know. But in the beginning, you kind of learn the ropes as you get going. And so it kind of hockey sticks like this. And it gets you into bigger multi fast. But I think that if you really learn what you need to learn in the beginning, you could grow into it a lot faster than you think. So. double your portfolio every time you do a deal. So.
Like, how much faith or research do you do around areas that like proclaim?
A ton of faith. like this whole board.
Like proclaim
right.
into their revitalization programs. Like I know a lot of Trenton, they have, you know, all these revitalization programs. They've done all these studies. They did the Trenton 20. They wanted to bring Amazon here. So how do you like look into that and kind of verify that?
I went to a
these are
lot of
actual
Amazon
plans?
meetings, by the way, for Trenton, but almost got it. Yeah. How much faith do you put into?
Well, like how much faith, research, and like how do you like verify that these aren't just plans, you know, that they're going to come to fruition, and that, you know, that this will like liven up the area and whatnot?
Mm-hmm. Without real capital behind it, all those plans are just talk, because the government itself, I don't think, is going to be the one that's really going to change a neighborhood. It's developers coming in and putting in money, you know, and so the plans that I've seen about, like, you know, redistricting this and redistricting that. Like, if they offer real financial incentives for developers to come in, that developers can just sound stupid, but, you know, just make more money if they work in a certain area, then that's what works. Like, keep their real estate taxes down, or carve the road for them. You got to look at what the real outcome of the program is that they're implementing. And if you look at that and say, yeah, you know what, that would make me more money if I was a part of that. You know, like giving you money to redo a storefront, but you got to use prevailing wage, is not a program that people are going to go clamoring over to be a part of. But if you're renovating this I'll give you a perfect example. The Philadelphia program
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you? The Philadelphia program that they put out years ago to abate your taxes for 10 years if you are renovating and doing substantial renovation or new construction of a property, created a condo boom in Philadelphia in the 2004, 5, 6 area, and it very quickly allowed Philadelphia to rebirth after the crash, right? For more people renovating and selling houses, because you can lock real estate taxes at an already cheap rate. I mean, I'm talking, we did a job down there, and the taxes were like $300 a house a year, right? And they're locked for 10 years. So this is somebody buying new construction, and their taxes are locked for 10 years, okay? Now, the double edge of that sword is after 10 years, they go, but for those 10 years, it's a lock on real estate taxes, which made it very, very appealing for people to buy in those markets. So that really drove development. The pendulum swung a lot in Philadelphia. A lot of it was because of that. So you got to look at the program and see just try and extrapolate it out. Like, okay, well, that's going to make this happen. And if that happens, then this is going to happen. If that happens, this is going to happen. And so try and think it out to see if it makes sense to create real change. If it doesn't, if it's just talk or redistricting or whatever, that's not really going to make real change. So,
They want to know if you'll invest in mobile home parks.
I don't know enough about it. I would. I just don't know enough about mobile home parks. I view mobile home parks to be, in some ways, just a different version of small to mid-sized multifamily. It is. It's like an apartment building, but it's kind of laid down with the segments all broken up and with some more earth in between them. So I just don't know enough about mobile home parks, but I would be very open to talking about it or investing in it. So.
BK All Day just asked, when is your next event?
Now, right now. Today, BK All Day. Today, all day. So this Friday, if you're local, BK All Day, if you're local to Trenton, we're having a happy hour here at this building on Friday at 3 o'clock. You should be there. Call in sick. You guys work. Just call in sick from work. And be here at 3 o'clock. So, God willing, and the creek don't rise, we're going to make that kegerator work.
Nice.
And we're going to have a ping pong tournament, and we're just going to hang out and talk real estate shop, whatever you guys want to talk about. And it's to promote the Hive, which is office space, mostly real estate centered office space, starting at $150 a month. So, the Hive. Yeah, be there BK All Day and introduce yourself, if that's your God-given name. BK All Day.
I'm sure.
Is that your Christian name? Yeah, right. Yeah. What's your nickname?
Lois wants to know about multifamily. So let's say it's 120 units, but it's actually spread over different addresses, maybe 5 or 10 minutes away from each other.
Scattered site.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not multifamily. It's scattered site.
Right. So,
yeah.
So is that something you're interested in? What are some things to look for?
I got enough of that, man. it's about what I'm interested in. It's about what works for you. And so I think that if you have a good property manager, you know, I mean, this is like kind of a plug, but it's a plug like Slate House. Slate House is really good at managing scattered site because of their business model. Okay, they can also manage single site multi, but scattered site can only be managed by certain entities that know how to run a scattered site project. So if you're going to buy a scattered site project and and your property manager doesn't have in-house maintenance, you've got to run, because in-house maintenance is necessary with scattered site properties. You'll get eaten alive if they have to go out and hire a maintenance person every time you need something in your scattered site property. You'll get crushed. So anyway, I think maintenance is a make or break for that.
But I think you missed, which is the major pro, which is
I'm gonna have to
because of
repeat what you say because the microphone it won't go in that. But go ahead.
the major pro that I think you missed, which is, hey, what up?
It's on YouTube.
Oh, nice. What up, YouTube? I feel like you missed the big pro, which
I'm sorry,
is.
who are you?
I'm Chad.
You're Chad.
Hey, how you
Chad
doing?
Gallagher from Slate House.
Yeah, so I own a private management company. So this comes up a lot, and
I'm gonna go eat a slice of pizza. You talk.
oh
for a minute.
man,
Yeah, I'm starving.
I feel like the point you missed, Matt, is
Oh,
scatter site is due to all of the negatives usually priced much lower than what you're going to see apartment complexes go for. So I mean, when I see pro formas, I usually see if it's a 100-unit, 12-building deal, that may look at like a 9% cap, whereas same city, same rents, that's going to be a 7% cap on one apartment complex, because there's just a lot more buyers for the single complex deal. By the way, that's not saying either one's better returns, worse returns, better deal. I just think for the same reason why we like to target 10 to 20 unit buildings, because there's less demand on those, is the same reason why, like, you gave some negatives there, but I think you missed the huge positive, which is you can probably get it for a significantly major discount.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can figure out an operation who can actually work with you on that, you could eventually have the discount, but also have a full-time maintenance guy assigned to those properties, which frankly doesn't look too much different than an apartment complex if these things are within a couple miles apart.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm gonna keep talking. No, I got it here. What's the next question? I'm still in the show here while he eats the pizza. Ask me something I know something about.
Someone here has a question? Someone's got to have some questions.
I think I have one of your signs in my trunk.
How'd that happen?
165 Hoffman. I ended up, your sign was there, I think you were trying to rent it, I ended up selling it. And I left a message for you on your website.
You
that
can
I
have
your
your
sign.
You can have it.
I'll return it.
Hit me up after.
Okay.
For those online, a Slate House sign is in this man's back seat.
I have a question. What do you think about property management, like homeowners associations, it's like HOAs?
Yeah, so I mean, the question was HOAs. I mean, to be honest, from an investor perspective, I don't put a ton of weight in them. They look more like a cost item than they do a benefit. That being said, a lot of times HOAs are a good sign that you're looking at an A or B class type neighborhood, and with that comes a whole bunch of benefits.
No, I meant like property management.
Oh, managing the HOA?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
a small amount of money, right? But it's
yeah. So managing HOA is something we do, but what we like to do is do that in association with also managing rentals in the community. Just to be honest, managing HOAs ends up dealing with a lot, I almost said a gender term, a lot of people who are maybe home all day and have nothing better to do than complain about their neighbors fill in the blank. Grass, bird seed, truck, daughter, and so you end up basically being a guidance counselor for the neighborhood.
And the fee to PM makes is not that much.
Right, and you don't charge that much. So,
small.
yeah. And then the other thing we don't like about it is...
It's not 10% of the home price.
No. And the other thing we don't like about it, to be honest, is, I mean, our whole game is helping people increase equity in what they own, right? And we feel like you do a good job on the management side. Yes, you help things cash flow, but the long-term gain is increasing equity. And in an HOA neighborhood, maybe you do increase the equity somewhat, but it's much harder to quantify. And so it's harder for us to see that success at the end. So we're not super passionate about HOA neighborhoods. We do a little bit though, and where we do it sometimes though is, there's this guy who actually just bought a built new construction, and I've never seen this before, but he actually built it with an HOA in place because his plan is to rent them out all initially, but eventually to sell some of the properties. Because he thinks that some of the individual properties will resale higher as a residential home than as all rentals. So he built them, being able to quickly stabilize them as rentals, knowing that there might be a downside in the market coming, so he's able to see that downside through, but also had the upside of being able to sell some of them because there's an HOA in place. That was like a really, really, like the most clever thing I've seen. No, over in Lancaster. God. It's actually Willow, the one we're managing. Willow Acres. Yeah. So, cool idea, right? So, because these builders will not build anything that are not rental units now, because they are nervous that when this downturn hits again, and it might not hit for 5 years, but sometime there's going to be a downturn, and so to protect, they only want to do rental units, right? Which is fine. The downside of that, though, is in today's climate, there's probably a higher value to a residential property than an investment property.
Man, I remember people talking about the downturn in 2015. You know, they're like, any minute now, this going to crash. I feel like we've been having this any minute now conversation for the last 4 years.
Yeah, I mean,
don't you?
I do. I'm not saying the sky is falling. All I'm saying is that when you're doing new construction, these guys are looking out 2 to 3 years. And really what they're saying is, we don't know how to look out 2 to 3 years. So rather than have to take a educated guess of what are the odds of a downturn happening in 2 to 3 years, they're just saying put an HOA on top, make them all rentals, but then over the next 5 to 10, let's know we're going to sell some to make use of that.
Cool.
Like you're knocking it. I think it's a pretty clever idea.
No. I think it's a great idea.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got to subdivide the units though, right?
Yep.
So you also have to.
If they're subdivided from
It
there.
costs some money.
Yeah, well, not just that, but then you would also then have a separate tax bill, real estate tax bill for each unit. So what I would do is I would put the HOA in, and then, what I would do is I would put the HOA in, and then if I went to start liquidating units, I would then carve it up and do do the separate tax deeds and stuff like that then.
I think it's what they're doing.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, any other questions from YouTube? We got.
Now I'm chewing.
Yeah, we got Justin with his mouth full.
Best way to entice an anchor tenant, like a franchise, to developing urban city and the properties in the path of development.
Best way to attract an anchor tenant to developing in urban cities.
Yeah.
They gotta have a why. I mean, most of the time for the anchor tenants, make money. That's kind of pretty basic, right? Starbucks opened up here in Trenton, and not because, I think partly because they wanted to be where they were, because they opened up at a super great location in Trenton. But they also opened up here because Starbucks has a mission-based initiative to open up in urban cores. And they opened up the spot here as a training center for Starbucks. So if you want to run a Starbucks one day or work in corporate for the organization, they would train you on how they do what they do at the Trenton Starbucks. And it's huge. It's 2 times bigger than any Starbucks you've ever seen. And it's got a big conference room and all that, but it is a training center for them. And as I understand, that Starbucks they're not concerned about that specific location making money or not. They're not. It's just because it's a training ground. So if you can get to their why, then I think that's why they'll do it. But most companies, it's, to make money. That's their why. They want to turn a profit, oddly enough. So, other questions? There's pizza in the back, guys, and it's good pizza. It's not Papa John's or Domino's, you guys watching. It's good Jersey pizza. It's one of the few things New Jersey does really, really well, is pizza. So, you guys in the room help yourself. I think we're out of paper plates, so please be kind to my rugs in that. Any other questions from the room? Any other questions from YouTube? This has been fun. We got to do this again. You're new. You're new and you haven't asked a question yet, so I'm gonna pick
Yeah,
on
I'm
you.
just taking it, I'm Max, Christian's friend.
That's okay.
So I'm just taking it all in. I
Yeah.
was here 2 months ago.
I
tried
know.
to get last
I remember.
week- Last month. but
I remember seeing you.
I was, work.
Yeah.
being nice.
What's the big thing you're facing right now in real estate? And if you don't own any properties yet, it's okay. If you got 1,000 units, that's okay too. But like, what's a big thing you're trying to figure out right now in your real estate journey on the path of real estate investing you got?
Just sometimes if it's a good deal or not, based on, you know, the rent roll and the amount of units.
How do you know if it's a good deal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taxes. I live in Ewing, so I've been looking at a few properties that I could potentially purchase and rent to college students. So it's a lot of information to take in, and
Yeah.
it's a big deal. You know?
Right. I think that a couple different things. Decide what direction you want to go. Right. So if it's student rentals, then investigate that. If it's regular working class rentals, then go that direction. And I happen to know in Ewing, there's certain regulations they have, which a lot of them are unfair, unfortunately, but on student rentals. And so I would become very familiar with those rules before you do it, because I have some friends that got into student rentals and got their butt kicked because the town, I think the town kind of wishes that college wasn't there, because it's caused some riffraff from the college student riffraff to flow out into the neighborhood. So you can make a lot of money with student rentals, but I would just make sure that you're very aware of what those rules are. So that's number one.
Hold on.
Oh, then there's this
One more thing
guy.
about college rentals.
Oh.
So this is really important. So I've seen people lose a lot of money when colleges make a change to who can live on campus.
Yes.
So I saw this happen, where was it? Somewhere in Pennsylvania, where they forced second-year students to live on campus. So essentially what they were having was a decreasing in enrollment. This is a slightly smaller kind of, I don't like to say lower tier, but this is not a top 50 university, right? So surging economy, lower attendance at this kind of a school, and school has open beds, so school forces second-year students to live on campus, which, if you're relying on college housing, that's a third of the population just died, basically, right?
I'm sorry, I take a bite of pizza before I talk. I had a buddy lose his 24 unit in North Carolina because of what Chad just talked about. Because UNC decided they wanted to start pushing for more student rentals. So they built a bunch of student rentals, which TCNJ just did. They built 7,000 beds, okay? You don't think they want those kids living on campus? I wouldn't play student rentals around TCNJ. I didn't thought about that when he brought that up, but I would stay away from student rentals around TCNJ because I think that they figured out that there's a lot of money in that game. And so I wouldn't mess around with it because they will outspend you all day long. And they're aligned with the town. And what happened at UNC, where my buddy owned his building, was not only did this university build more student housing, but the town started restricting and pushing back on multi, and my buddy's taxes doubled in a year, right? Because of improvements that they needed to make to support the college, right? So the town and the college are in cahoots, right? So you're going to get smoked by those guys if they decide to, So just for that, don't mess with it, But you can do well in Ewing. It's just the problem with Ewing is in pulling permits. The permit office is awful, and it's very archaic. They don't work on Wednesdays. It's weird, So it's weird. Like their office is closed on Wednesdays. Like why? It's a regular day of the week. Why are you closed?
I called today. I put in a pool for my kids, and I called today, and I couldn't get anyone, and I spoke to a buddy. They said, yeah, they don't work on Wednesday.
Well, they never answer their phone.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Like you go in there and talk to them. You go in there and talk to them. They'll be
just to
sitting there
put a
talking to you, and the phone's blowing up next to them. You can see the light blinking. Wait a minute, you want to get that? And you're like, no, I'm not going to get that. I don't ever answer that. That light just blinks. I'm not
What
sure.
is that, right?
Right. They don't know how to answer it. Right. They don't know. Right. I have to put this here, and I can talk to them. The only reason to get anything done over there, I find, is to go there in person. And to get things done there. So, anyway, but to bottom line with you is all you got to do is just tighten up a little bit on your business plan on what it is you want to do with yourself and everything like that, and how you want to expand into your rental business, and then push heavy into that. So pick a lane and then discover everything there is to know about it, and then become an expert in that thing, and then get all over that thing. Whether that is. If it's renting out 3-bedroom, 2 baths in Ewing, we used to have a few out there. I mean, the rents you can get in Ewing for a single family home are really, really solid. You know, I mean, you can get bordering on 2,000 a month out there for a house that you're all in for like 120, 130K. That's a pretty good equation. And when we had a property in Ewing like that, a single family home, the guy that lived there ended up buying it from us. So we kind of did like a rent, you know, like a rent to own thing with him. Yeah, and we made a nice chunk on the sale too. So, yeah. Not to do what I did, you know, do your own thing. That's it. One more question. You know, you got any questions online?
Everyone's thanking you so much for all the great feedback, great content.
Oh, I love you guys.
And then we snuck in one last question on, have you, any thoughts on assisted living?
What's this person's? I love the YouTube names. It's like
Huff.
Trash Talker 325.
No,
What?
this is Knee Huff,
Knee Huff. Oh, okay. Have I looked into what?
assisted living.
No. Next question.
There you go.
No, I mean, just because it's a niche, man. There's like 10,000 ways you can make money in real estate, man. I mean, and the mistake I made when I first got started was I tried to make money in like 7,000 of them, you know. And I find that, like, to what I said to my friend here, is you gotta find one way that you're gonna do it. And there's no right way. It's just the way that you need to do it. And assisted living is just a place I never went to. Just student rentals is a place that I never went. We just decided to make our brand in workforce housing, and that's what we do. And I don't do many things other than that. So, and I find when I find that I'm doing stuff outside of that, that's kind of when things get a little squirrely. When I stick to what I know, then we do well. So, yeah. But, Nehuff, if assisted living works for you and if it speaks to you, then get into it and stick to it. Because there's people that I know that are working on assisted living models about taking the McMansions that are out, built in the burbs, you know, these 4,000 square foot McMansions that nobody wants to buy anymore, and turning those into micro assisted living facilities, right? With like a live-in somebody, and then people living in all the rooms in the house, you know. That's a conversation that's coming out of the pipeline, because we're having a lot of people in America that are gonna need more and more assisted livings. And maybe they might not wanna live in a 55 plus, which is like a college dorm room except for older people, you know, or they just want something, they wanna feel like they're still in the burbs, because that's where they live most of their life. So, there's a lot of conversations out there. I'm not in them, because I'm trying to stay in my lane, trying to. So, what time is that?
It's 6:35.
Okay, a few things. For all you guys, the Hive this building is called the Hive. You yourself could be a Hive member for $150 a month, and you guys watching YouTube, if you're anywhere local to New Jersey, you could be a part of this space and be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with full-time access to run your business and rub elbows with real estate investors for $150 a month. And I work here most days, and a bunch of people that are smarter than me work here every day too. And people that I get a lot of what I'm spouting today, the people that I get those ideas from all work here as well. A lot of what I talked about today is on my YouTube channel. You just got to go to YouTube. You guys are watching YouTube, so just surf the channel and go to, if for those of you go to YouTube/DeRosa Group. And a lot of these conversations are out there because I just try and answer people's questions and do my best to keep the conversation flowing about real estate education, because it's nowhere near as complicated as people want it to be, and there's no reason why you need to be paying somebody $10,000 and run to the back of the room and we only got 3 left and come to my weekend boot camp. There's no reason you need to do any of that stuff, because it's nowhere near as complicated as people like to make it. It's just, information. So, and a little bit of courage too. So, that's what I got.
Friday.
What?
Friday.
Oh, Friday! I was about to wrap it up. People already left. Friday, here, 3 o'clock. I keep forgetting Friday. I forgot Friday at SJREA last week too. Yeah, thank you for reminding me. So, Friday of this week, this Friday, we're having a happy hour here. As long as that kegerator works, we're having a happy hour. We're going to have a ping pong tournament and a happy hour, and we're just going to hang out and talk real estate shop and network with all the other real estate investors and all the other business owners that are here in this building, and just hang out for a couple of hours this Friday at 3 o'clock. It's all on me. It's free, and it's meant to raise brand awareness for the Hive, but it's also meant as like a thank you for all you guys that come and hang out with us and stuff like that. So this Friday, between 3 and 5, it'll be going on. So come by this Friday. And those of you guys that are local to New Jersey, come check it out too. Or Pennsylvania too. You can travel. So, thank you. I miss anything?
Old-fashioned real estate said it would be a long ride from Chattanooga.
You can get in the car right now and be here by Friday at 3 o'clock.
Cheap flights to Trenton.
Cheap flights to Trenton.
There you go.
Cool. So Chad is going to be doing an event at 7 o'clock. You guys hang out, network, meet. There's a lot of people in the room now, so meet somebody you don't know around the room, because odds are there's a deal that could get struck around the room right here. So Jay buys houses, right?
All day, every day.
All day, every day, Jay buys houses.
Half price houses.
Half price. So talk to him and talk to each other and network a bit and hang out. Thank you. You sign it up?
Sign up. You wanna sign up?
No, I did.